Be strong.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Hello.
I don't know why I did that very early on in the proceedings, didn't I? Kept saying good evening or good afternoon.
Yes, you did. We trained you off that, but you're having a regression moment.
Sorry, I am having a regression moment. I do. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We were
Good.
just having a very good conversation about marmalade.
We were having a very good. I mean, riveting, people.
Sounds like we're
Riveting.
thrilling, aren't we?
So we're gonna have to
I
replicate
love
it.
marmalade.
You are obsessed with marmalade, right?
I really like marmalade. But I don't have it in the house.
Because
I would eat it all.
would you eat it by the spoonful?
Oh no, I'm not common, you know.
And we were having a discussion about whether you like thin cut,
Yes.
thin shredded,
Yes.
jelly. You like all of it.
Lemon, lime.
No.
Yes.
We went into this and I totally disagree with this. I had to Google the fact that marmalade is any boiled
citrus fruit.
Yes. And then shock horror, folks.
Adrian's learned for the day.
I did not know that a bergamot is a type of citrus fruit.
It's a very little
So
one.
he's like, oh yeah, of course, it's like a little, like she's known that since she was born. But it's like it looks like a little lime.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Can you eat them then?
I don't think you probably would eat them. I think they tend to
have them in scented
something done to them.
You?
Yeah, which is nice,
Perfumes.
isn't it?
But I never knew. So, folks, you learned it here. A bergamot you can make marmalade out of.
Yeah, but if anybody's got marmalade needs to rehoming,
have you got
send it in?
other? You know, I mean, there are lots of brands, but have you got like if you had to choose one?
Just the standard Robinsons is fine with me.
My mum used to make marmalade that was out of a tin stuff.
Yes. So this is probably.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes, I do. So this is where I think my marmalade thing comes in. So my nan.
You're gonna say fetish, weren't you?
It was, but I thought that was a bit strong. I don't like it that. It's a different story, and I don't like it that much.
That's the after the watershed version.
Yeah, after the watershed. My mum used to make marmalade, and my nanny used to make marmalade, and Nana used to have a can that came, and then it had. I don't know how she did it, but it was a big can, and then you did everything within the can. Yeah, and boiled it up. Yeah. So, but I can remember coming into the kitchen and Mum having a saucer with drops of marmalade or jam. She did jam.
That's right.
The thickening and stuff like that on it. So I remember all that. So I think that's probably why marmalade to me is associated with very good memories.
Oh, I love it. And what is your favourite receptacle for your marmalade?
A thick, crusty, fresh bread with butter. Oof. That's filthy, isn't it?
I love that. It's such a comforting food, isn't it?
I know.
I think when you like, either you feel a bit down, or maybe you're a bit hungover, or
a bit of toast.
Toast with like thick butter, loads of marmalade.
Yeah.
Jam is not the same for me.
I like jam, but it's not the same as marmalade. And I think also, I said to you, I get very excited when I go to hotels and they've got the little pots of marmalade. I'm very excited. Oh, marmalade! So yes, there you go. So that's the type of interesting conversations we have.
And then the other thing, and we also talked about hot cross buns, because hot cross buns have like turned into like there are so many different types of hot cross buns. So
polluted is what you're trying to say.
So you like a traditional?
I like a
fruit
hot cross
cinnamony hot crossy bunny thing.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I would say no to the others if they were forced.
So Marks and Spencer's, other supermarkets are available, do lots of different versions, and they do a very nice salted caramel and chocolate chip one, which with
Tesco's do that as well. You see, the boys like that one.
Loads of dirty Lurpak on it. Oof. Absolutely amazing.
Salted or unsalted butter?
Oh, salted. Yeah, fat and salt. Why not? That's what I think.
if you're gonna go,
and have it
go happy.
Have it like thick.
Oh no.
My mum, God rest her soul, when we she made sandwiches, my
The
mum.
thought of this thick butter's making you choke up, isn't it?
Yeah. Whenever she made a cheese sandwich, it was very difficult to differentiate between the butter and the cheese because it was so it'd be like, oh, pale cheese, pale cheese. And actually it's a sandwich.
Nana used to do that. Nana used to be thick butter. I like a thin layer. I don't like it thick.
So I don't know whether I've told you this story, but my mum, as you know, my mum loved a buffet and she loved to put on food when you went round.
Beige buffet.
Beige buffet, yeah. So this one time we went round and she had cut up pieces of fruitcake into squares, put in bowls. There's people, drinks. It was very posh. And she'd cut up pieces.
It was you, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She cut up pieces of cheese because cheese and fruitcake's quite a thing. Not everybody likes it, but so I had a piece of fruitcake and I picked up a piece of cheese and I thought this cheese is very white.
Oh.
So I popped a piece of cheese in my mouth and realised it was lard.
Oh God, that's disgusting.
So my mum's partner Bob, bless him. Mum had said to him, cut up that cheese that's in the tin foil in the fridge. So he took the piece of tin foil and actually it got a slab of lard in it. So he cut the lard into chunks. And I swear to God, I couldn't, it was like an oil slick around.
Disgusting.
We overplayed that one hundreds of times. It's one of my favourite stories. Because it's like oily and it just
it makes me feel gaggy just the thought of it.
So folks, don't put lard on your hot cross buns.
The beef dripping.
Oh jeez.
There you go. Anyway.
So what else have you been up to? So you've got somebody who's got a bit of a new milestone, a first that's happening in their life.
So we thought we'd sort of touch on firsts, but not that type. So the lovely Megan and Jack have got their first house together. So
congratulations, Megan and Jack.
Yeah, King of the Podcast's daughter has left the house. It's first baby to fly the nest. So it's exciting and interesting times. But I was thinking, then made me think about the first time I moved out of home on my own and. What did you do when you first moved out on your own?
You were 10 and,
I was 10. I lived on the streets.
Like an urchin. Well, I was quite a late starter when it comes to... in many ways. I think I was 26 maybe when I first left home and bought my very first house.
Okay.
Which just happened to be round the corner from you.
It did, round the corner.
I bought a little 2-bedroom house in Chard. It was a little terrace place, which I was, it was lovely. And I had my own sofa and purple carpet. It was amazing. That was there. I didn't buy it. And I just remember going into Woolworths and buying lots of things for my kitchen because Woolworths was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And it was quite enjoyable to buy a colander and a set of mugs.
It was exciting, isn't it?
Woolworths for like 11 pence or something.
Guess what I've made? Guess what I've given Megan as a housewarming present?
Potpourri.
No, a pom wreath.
Well, your pom-pom wreaths are becoming legendary. We can see one if you're watching on YouTube on Zoe's wall.
But I've made it in grey and white because their new house is
and mine.
Much. I'll let you. Oh, as well. Yeah, pretty much grey and white in her house. So that's what I've done.
Very, very classy.
Right.
That is.
Okay. So, my first house. There you go. So my first house was in. I went into a bed sit first. So Mum and Dad were moving with his job, and I was old enough to go. I don't want to keep moving house anymore. I'm not going to go. And I was already started going out with Andrew, so I moved into a bed sit in Barnstable. So you go in. It was above the butcher shop, so the butcher was.
I lived above a butcher shop as well. How weird is that?
Well, I'll tell you what's disconcerting about living above a butcher shop is that like 5:30 or 6 in the morning, you can get woken up by them chopping dead animals up. Anywho, but yeah, so you'd go in the door. So you had the butcher's door, and then my door was next to it. You go up into the door, up the stairs, past the first floor flats, and then you go up another set of stairs, and then you had a door to the right, and then 2 doors in front of you. And the door in front of you on the left was another flat.
Sounds like a bloody escape room.
The door to the right was my living space with kitchen, and then back into the shared stairwell, up a couple of stairs, and it was my bedroom with a little shower in it.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long were you there for then?
I think I must have been there 6 months. So,
You didn't have any strange moments where they got the door wrong and you ended up with a pig carcass in your living room, did you?
No, thankfully not. No, but I just turned 19 when I moved in there. Yeah.
So independent.
I know. Had to do my own money and everything. But yeah.
I probably stood you in good stead.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did. I could. It meant that I had to learn how to budget and things like that, and
and
had
go
a
food
pound
shopping.
meter for my electric. Pound for my electric meter.
Wow.
Yeah, the food shopping wasn't so much fun because it was up 3 flights of stairs to get upstairs.
I found that really tedious when I first. It's like, oh, you've got to make up meals and think of things to eat and plan for the week ahead. I was like, oh no.
Well, that's assuming you have money for food. I had £5 for food.
Oh.
So I'd have a lot of corned beef hash.
Oh, I love corned beef hash.
I love corned beef hash. Corned beef curry.
Corned beef curry? I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, well, I was just whatever I could make really on as low a budget as possible. So yeah.
Oh, you're so resourceful. You must.
I know.
I think we ought to do some of Zoe's bedsit
Food.
dishes. I think.
And then I moved. I then moved to the flat downstairs, which was not a bedsit; it was a fully contained flat.
Oh, so you didn't have to go out of your door.
Oh, no, next door. Next door.
You didn't have to go out the door upstairs to go to the bathroom.
No, it was all on my own.
Oh, and they couldn't. And they couldn't deliver beef and stuff by mistake
No.
to the dining room.
No. It was still above the butcher shop at the other side. So yeah,
It's all a bit of a shock to the system when you move out, isn't it? Because you've got to cut the grass and you've
not
got
in a bed seat, you know.
not unless it's mouldy.
Oh dear.
I better get in and cut all the mould off of the.
Yeah, just trim the wood.
I'm sure it was a lovely bed sit.
It was lovely. It was good. It was fine.
Oh, but that's nice. Well, congratulations to them.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So the other thing that we wanted to talk about was about being selfish, which is a bit of a odd one, but we wanted to talk about this, didn't we? We chatted this week.
We did want to talk about it. So because quite often I'm finding that I'm having to say to people, you need to be a little bit selfish, or you need to be kind to yourself, and to be kind sometimes you have to be selfish. And I think selfish has got, look at me gone verbal diarrhea. Being selfish, I think sometimes it has so many negative connotations that actually sometimes people forget that actually sometimes you need to be selfish and it's a positive thing. So you need to, sometimes to protect yourself and to look after yourself, you have to be selfish with your time, or with, not saying yes to everything. Sometimes you have to be selfish and say, actually, I can't do that.
I don't think comes. I think that's difficult for us because we're so not selfish. What is that?
Nice.
But I don't think it's something that comes very easily to us. No. But maybe I guess the question would be, for other people, do they see that as being selfish, or is actually just normal for them? They don't see that as being selfish because of, we're also all made so differently.
Yeah, for sure.
I think I was chatting to somebody this week about expectations of other people, and we kind of have our own standards, don't we? Which are which have come about by our life experience or through our families, and how these things have been ingrained into us, and the experiences that we've had. Society, agreed. And how are we when maybe people don't come up to their standard? And I know that I'm guilty of this, is that if people perhaps don't act in the way that I would expect them to, or I would perhaps is more appropriate, that I can find that quite irritating, or I can be quite dismissive about, well, why can't they do it this way, or why can't they do it that way? So I think is being
your way of
well, I don't like to think I'm quite that extreme, but
no, I was asking the question. I wasn't stating the
no, I catch myself doing it. I do know that I can be quite intolerant at times, and I think it doesn't hurt to just stop and think a little bit about expectations and about, like you say, is it somebody being selfish or is it somebody just being themselves and them being different to me and acknowledging that difference? But I think when you're in the moment and we're tuned
passionate about something.
Well, and we're tuned in a certain way, aren't we? I can't help the way that I am, as can you. And whilst there's some good things about that, there's also some bits that I'd probably rather not be. But and it is about that. It can be quite hurtful, can't it, if you're doing things for other people all the time.
Yeah.
And you feel that you're not getting something back. Not that you should ever do things for, but I guess we kind of assume that if we give, then we should get back. And
I think there's
do we need to think that? I don't know.
No, I know. And I think there's things like you sort of have conversations with people and they say, well, I'm always the one that contacts that person. I'm always the one that contacts them. And then I haven't heard from them for ages. And then you think, well, hang on, I haven't called them either. So actually, is that my fault or is that their fault, or is it just life? That's,
And is it a fault, or is it?
Lockdown. I think lockdown is causing issues. I think. Go on. I think with lockdown, people have learnt to have more time to themselves as a family and learnt the value of interactions with other people. And I think we may need to, when we go back into the normal inverted commas world, and we all want to get back in and we want to meet up with this person, I want to go do this, and I want to go there and I want to do this and I want to, I think we have to be a little bit selfish and protective of what we've learnt over the last 12 months, and sort of make sure we still protect those things for ourselves, rather than giving all of our time and all of us away, which we want to do, but then it's hard to then pull back. I think we need to just remember maintaining
balance.
Yes, there you go, maintaining balance.
I think because life has changed, hasn't it? It is obviously slower.
Yeah.
But I think, people we've talked about this in previous episodes, that people have been able to do things that are enjoyable for themselves, or I know that parents, it's been tough having the kids at home, but they spent more quality time and they've sat around the table more and been able to bond more and see the children grow and have those conversations when maybe they're at work or doing long hours or not eating around the table at night or whatever it might be.
You're just saying then about doing activities and things. They're like the pom-poms or doing jigsaws or whatever. Before, you would have felt that you couldn't do that. Like, a reason not to do them was, well, I've got time. But I think that's my point. Is I think you need to be selfish and say, I want this time. And I think that's where maybe it is selfish, maybe it's not selfish, but claiming time for your things that you want, to hold on to the stuff that you want and to stake a claim on it, rather than going, oh, well, that's not really fitting in with other people.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, we do this podcast every Friday. We would never have started this, would we, prior to lockdown?
No, for sure. No.
And now I hold this time. It's very important to me, spending time. It is. But I will always let you know if I'm invariably running late, but we always stick to the same time scale. We always have this time together. Andrew goes to walk the dog, so the dog's not about. Tim's doing something, and this is our time to. And whilst we do talk quite a bit during the week, this is like our proper time to talk. Proper catch up. And actually, we never had this amount of time talking before, because we didn't live near each other, so therefore we didn't just pop in, and we certainly never had an in-depth conversation about stuff like we do now, do we? So I consciously want to make sure that you were saying that these things and spending that quality time doing something that's really enjoyable is, it carries on. I mean, people listening might be thinking, well, let's get lockdown over so we don't have to listen to them going on. But
we don't want to listen to them do anymore. Lockdown's over. Woo! Podcast is over.
No, I think it amazes me. I was speaking to somebody this week who said, "Oh, I listened to quite a lot of your podcasts all in one go when I was in the car," and I was like, "What? You listened to all of it?" I really like the one, and as she was playing back to me, the stuff that we talked about, I know you edit it. I don't listen to them very often. In fact,
No.
I probably listen to 4. But I don't listen to what we've talked about, so I've probably got no idea. But when people play it back to you, it's like, God, we did actually talk about that, didn't we?
Yeah, it's funny. But we've discussed this off air as well. But you do have the memory span of a flea. So
I am the proverbial goldfish.
And I'm the elephant. So it's quite good. But yeah, no, I listen because I have to edit, but we don't really edit anything out. So I don't really.
No, we don't really.
But yeah, and Andrew and I both listen separately. So he'll listen on Saturday morning, but I tend to listen on Friday night as I go to sleep. And that's normally, so I apologise now to anybody who's listened to there've been a couple where I've edited something. It tends to be on when we've done guest ones. I've edited something and then I've realised when I've listened back to it when I've gone to bed that there's a mistake or I've left a bit in where it's repeated or something, and I've gone, oh no, that's in there, and then I go, oh no, 4 people have listened to it already.
or you've texted me going, oh no, there's 10 whole minutes I've taken out.
Yeah, I know.
I remember that once, and you were panic stricken because we'd lost 10 minutes right at the very beginning of it. But
I know. Oh dear. But
and people had listened, and but hey, we're not perfect, are we?
We're not perfect.
I think the other thing that I'm just very mindful of during lockdown is, and I've spoken to a few people who say they don't listen to the news anymore because I think the press and the news has become really, really negative. And I do struggle with this concept about we're never happy. We're always looking for there to be a problem. So, let's be honest, there was mistakes in lockdown, and I have no idea how easy it is to navigate lockdown and the infrastructure changes, the legal changes, getting
anybody in that role would have made mistakes. There's no way anybody wouldn't have done it perfectly.
And getting the UK people to do as they're told, frankly, is probably one of the hardest things ever. But we are absolutely all over the vaccine rollout. We have we're 3rd in the world in comparison to Europe. Separate conversation. Don't want to get into that one. But we're still nitpicking. But we're still nitpicking, and the news is nitpicking about, oh well, now there's going to be a shortage, and they said that there wouldn't be, and that it's like, stop it. There's a constant demand for trying to find fault in people, and sadly, I can see that we're starting to do that to each other. So I do think that the press have got a lot to, all the stuff that's happened in the press the last few weeks, it just becomes very, very toxic. We've got some toxic people, without naming names, who are on our TV that are spouting hate and ridiculous behaviour. Makes it acceptable. And I think the TV producers and companies need to take a bit of a moral high ground and stop it.
No, it's so sad, isn't it? And I think there's been other things where sometimes we're given too much information. I don't think, so for example, I remember when we've had arguments with other countries, perhaps maybe having a little war. But I do think, you think back to the Second World War, First World War, they wouldn't have disclosed all the information that they disclose now because everybody would have known. So it wouldn't have been surprised by any attacks coming because it's all over the press. Everything's always all over the press.
And don't you think?
I think it really pulls you down. I think it does. We don't listen to it anymore. I haven't listened to the news for yonks.
I mean, I also think
it is just negativity.
I think our youth know a lot as well, don't they? I sometimes wonder whether they're so aware of everything because of social media. They know everything that's going on in great detail about everything. And I wonder whether it just does give them, I think about when I was like tiny, growing up.
Long time ago.
Yeah, shut your face. Early teens. I wasn't worried about really what was going on in the world because I was too busy going down the field or fishing or playing or doing whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware.
I can remember when I was at.
God, I sound like a right.
When I was in. When I was in secondary school, and I think it was it the Gulf War had started or Gulf War's going on, and one of the girls in my drama group, her brother was in the forces, and her being in tears, and I just had no idea what what was going on, what the issues were. And I was, maybe year 3 or 4. So what was that?
Don't know.
10, 9?
You were like well obsessed with Jason Donovan by that time, I would have thought.
I was over the JD wasn't on the scene at that point.
Pre JD.
Post Jason Donovan.
Oh, post. Okay.
I mean, obviously, I've never really been post.
I forgot I'm so much older than you.
You are a lot older than me. Yeah, I agree. I think that the younger people today are much more aware of everything that's going on around.
And I don't think that always is a positive thing. And I think there's a lot of pressure in the world on them. Expectation on exams, expectations on how you look, expectations on who you mix with, what music you listen to, blah de blah. We just need to stop adding more pressure into their lives at such an early age.
Yeah, and I think the whole be kind movement is brilliant. If we could just maintain it for longer than a couple of days on Twitter, it would be lovely.
Oh well, I have actually removed myself from Twitter now, so I do it because of work, because we use it as a platform. I cannot abide to be on it anymore.
You may have mentioned this before.
Have I? Have I told you that I've come off Twitter lately?
I think you may have mentioned it last week. Did I mention you got a flea brain?
My memory is so bad. It's really bad. I think it's because I think I try and explain why this is. I think I have such an active mind that I'm always thinking about the next thing, and I'm not really concentrating in the minute, and then it's gone.
I was going to say you're forgetting to live in the moment. Is what you're trying to tell me?
All right. Don't get all deep on me on a Friday at 5:30. By that time, there's no chance of me remembering anything at all.
Oh dear. Yes. So I think the moral of our little ramble there is just to be kind, but be selfish. So sometimes to be selfish, you have to be kind. You have to be selfish.
And it's okay to be selfish, although selfish has a negative connotation. What we're trying to say is actually it's about taking time for yourself. Thinking about you first sometimes is okay to do to keep yourself well and your mind healthy.
Yeah, I think it's important sometimes.
Nice little.
I mean, we're really good at it, but I'm very good at advising other people.
Well, I think some of this is about talking about it. Probably, I hope there are people listening, thinking, "Oh, yeah, I get that," and I think it's good for us to remind ourselves as well, isn't it? For sure.
I think so.
Well, I enjoyed that. Feel a bit exhausted. Need a little bit of a lie down, I think.
I think I need thick bread with marmalade on.
Oh, but only orange marmalade.
Oh, any marmalade.
I might just pop along and see if I can get some bergamot marmalade.
Probably have to get it on Amazon, to be honest.
If anybody can find bergamot marmalade and wants to come on and tell us about the experience of eating it, we'd happily do that.
Taste test. Oh dear.
Oh, thanks, Zoe. As always,
thanks, Mr. Ball.
Always a pleasure, never a chore.
Oh, thanks. I would say the same, but
Have a great weekend, everybody, or whatever time of the week it is.
See you later. Bye.